High Ambassador Nixis of the Zytherian Diplomatic Corps had experienced many strange Earth customs during her 3-month assignment, but nothing had prepared her for the Houston International Food Festival. Her crystalline sensory tendrils wavered in confusion as she followed festival director James Washington through rows of smoking metal containers. "You deliberately expose protein sources to combustion?" she asked, her universal translator struggling to maintain diplomatic neutrality. Her second-in-command, Science Officer Vrel, was frantically recording readings on his bioscanner. "Not combustion, Ambassador, we call it smoking," James explained, leading them toward a particular station where an older woman tended to what humans called a smoker. "Ms. Rosa here has been smoking brisket for 40 years. She's a legend in Texas barbecue circles." Rosa Martinez looked up from her smoker, wiping her hands on a well-worn apron. Her eyes sparkled with pride as she noticed her visitors. "Welcome to Earth's finest culinary tradition, Ambassador." Nixis's tendrils detected complex chemical reactions occurring within the smoker. "Science Officer, explain these readings." Vrel's metallic skin shifted colors in excitement. "Ambassador, the process appears to be triggering molecular changes we've never observed before. The protein structures are being modified through a combination of heat, smoke particles, and time." Rosa smiled knowingly as she opened the smoker. The aroma that emerged caused Nixis's sensory tendrils to extend fully, something that hadn't happened since her academy days. "That's 14 hours of post-oak smoke working its magic," Rosa explained. "Would you care to try some?" The diplomatic team's translators simultaneously glitched on the word magic, but Nixis was too intrigued to maintain proper protocol. "You've been maintaining this thermal reaction for 14 Earth hours?" Low and slow, Rosa nodded, slicing off a piece of the brisket. "That's the secret. You can't rush perfection." The gathered crowd watched in anticipation as Nixis carefully accepted the offering. Zytherian dietary analysts had cleared Earth proteins for consumption, but no one had tested smoked meat. Her tendrils analyzed the sample, detecting layers of complex compounds that defied her species' understanding of food preparation. The moment the brisket touched her taste receptors, Nixis's entire crystalline form illuminated with a brilliant blue glow, the Zytherian equivalent of sensory overload. The crowd gasped. "Ambassador!" Vrel moved to assist, but Nixis raised a tendril to stop him. "This is extraordinary," she managed to transmit. "The flavor compounds are creating neural patterns I've never experienced. How is this achieved without quantum molecular reconstruction?" Rosa's laugh was warm and knowing. "No quantum anything here, Ambassador. Just wood, fire, time, and love." "Love?" The translator struggled again. "The care and attention you put into the process," James explained. "Every pitmaster has their own technique, passed down through generations." Nixis's glow intensified. "You're telling me this is achieved through purely analog means? Without AI assistance or molecular stabilizers?" "Just experience and instinct," Rosa confirmed, already preparing another slice. "Would you like to learn how it's done?" Before Nixis could respond diplomatically, her subcommander burst through the crowd, waving a data tablet. "Ambassador! The fleet is receiving our sensory transmissions. The High Council is demanding immediate information about this barbecue technique. They're calling it a potential revolution in interstellar cuisine." Nixis turned to Rosa, her crystalline form still glowing with delight. "Ms. Martinez, I believe we may need to discuss an official cultural exchange program. The Zytherian Empire would be very interested in learning more about this smoking process." Rosa's eyes twinkled as she handed Nixis another slice of brisket. "Ambassador, I believe this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship." As the story of the glowing alien ambassador spread through the festival, other food vendors began preparing samples of their specialties. By sunset, the Zytherian diplomatic team had experienced pulled pork, smoked turkey, and Texas hot links. Each new dish caused ripples of excitement through the alien fleet's communications network. James watched in amazement as Rosa began explaining the basics of fire management to the enthralled alien scientists. Their sophisticated scanning devices hovered over her smoker while she demonstrated the proper way to maintain temperature control. Who would have thought, he mused, that humanity's first major contribution to interstellar culture would be barbecue? Nixis, now on her fourth slice of brisket, her crystalline form pulsing with contentment, simply nodded. Some things, it seemed, truly were universal. The smoke spreads. Fleet Admiral Karan stood on the bridge of the Zytherian flagship, Stellar Harmony, watching with growing bewilderment as the ship's communication channels overflowed with barbecue-related transmissions. His iridescent scales shifted through shades of confusion as yet another request for smoking apparatus specifications crossed his desk. Let me understand this correctly, he addressed his chief science officer, Dr. Lyra. Our entire diplomatic corps is now obsessed with burning animal protein? Smoking, sir, Lyra corrected, her scales flickering with excitement. The process creates flavor compounds our food synthesizers can't replicate. Ambassador Nixis's neural recordings are unprecedented. The main view screen displayed live feeds from Earth, where Zytherian scientists crowded around various barbecue pits, their scanning devices working overtime. Rosa Martinez had become an overnight sensation in interstellar circles, patiently explaining the difference between mesquite and hickory smoke to wide-eyed alien researchers. The humans achieve this without quantum technology? Karan asked, his skepticism evident. That's what makes it remarkable, Lyra responded, bringing up a holographic display of molecular structures. They've developed an entirely analog method of protein modification that produces results our most advanced systems can't match. The ship's commissary officer, Tell, burst onto the bridge, his scales practically strobing with agitation. Admiral! We have a situation in the mess hall. The crew is refusing to eat synthesized protein. They're demanding authentic barbecue. Karan's scales shifted to a deep blue of resignation. How many crew members? All of them, sir. The Admiral sighed. At that moment, a priority transmission from Ambassador Nixis appeared on the main screen. Her crystalline form still glowed with the telltale signs of recent barbecue consumption. Admiral, she began, her tone carrying unusual enthusiasm for a diplomatic transmission, I'm requesting immediate clearance for what the humans call a mobile smoker to be installed on the flagship. For diplomatic purposes, of course. Of course, Karan replied dryly. And I assume the 50 containers of various wood types being loaded into our cargo bay are also for diplomatic purposes? Essential cultural exchange materials, Admiral. Did you know the humans have developed over 300 distinct regional variations of barbecue sauce? Before Karan could respond, alarms blared through the ship. Dr. Lyra rushed to her console, then relaxed. False alarm, sir. It seems several crew members attempted to modify their quarters' environmental controls to simulate smoke conditions. The Admiral's scales cycled through several shades of exasperation. Has anyone considered that we might be overreacting to this human cooking method? His question was answered by the arrival of his personal chef, carrying a data pad filled with Earth barbecue recipes. Sir, with your permission, I'd like to convert Cargo Bay 3 into a smoking facility. For research purposes. Karan looked around his bridge, where every screen now seemed to display barbecue-related content. His senior staff, usually models of professional decorum, were openly discussing smoke rings and bark formation. Even his security chief was arguing the merits of different wood types with an Earth barbecue enthusiast. Doctor, he turned to Lyra, please explain to me, scientifically, why our entire species seems to be losing their minds over this. Lyra's scales rippled with academic excitement. The combination of smoke compounds, protein transformation, and time-dependent chemical reactions creates flavor profiles that trigger pleasure centers in our brains we didn't even know existed. It's as if the humans have accidentally discovered a form of culinary engineering that transcends species boundaries. Sir. Tell interrupted again. The Galactic Council is requesting an emergency session. Apparently, word of barbecue has spread to other species. The Andromedans are particularly interested in something called pulled pork. Charon settled into his command chair, his scales finally settling into a shade of acceptance. Tell Ambassador Nixus her smoker is approved. And, request a sample of this pulled pork for command staff analysis. As his crew celebrated, Charon couldn't help but marvel at how a simple cooking method had accomplished what years of diplomatic negotiations couldn't, bringing species together through a shared appreciation of carefully burned meat. Meanwhile, on Earth, Rosa Martinez was teaching a group of alien scientists the proper technique for spritzing brisket. Remember, she explained to her attentive audience, it's not just about the technique. It's about patience, tradition, and love. The universal translators still struggled with love, but as the aroma of smoking meat wafted through the air, the aliens' various biological indicators suggested they were beginning to understand. Cultural exchange through fire. The United Nations Space Relations Complex in Houston had never seen anything quite like this. What was once a formal diplomatic center had been transformed into what humans called a barbecue academy. The courtyard, previously home to abstract sculptures and meditation gardens, now housed 24 different types of smokers, each attended by eager alien students. Rosa Martinez stood before her interstellar class, her traditional pitmaster's apron now adorned with patches from various alien worlds. Today, she announced to the assembled group of different species, we're going to learn about the art of the smoke ring. The Zytherian scientists' crystalline forms sparkled with anticipation. The Andromedan delegates extended their sensory pods. Even the normally stoic Centaurian ambassadors' chrome-like surface rippled with interest. First rule of barbecue, Rosa continued, you can't rush perfection. Those temperature gauges aren't just for show. But Instructor Martinez, interrupted Tull, a Centaurian physicist, their surface reflecting the smoke patterns above. Our calculations suggest we could accelerate the protein modification process using focused plasma beams. Rosa shook her head, a smile playing at her corners of her mouth. That's exactly the kind of thinking we need to move past. Barbecue isn't about finding the fastest way. It's about the journey. In orbit, aboard the Stellar Harmony, Admiral Charon reviewed the latest diplomatic reports with a mixture of amusement and disbelief. The ship's former weapons research lab had been converted into what the crew called the Smoke Science Center. Dr. Lyra's team had filled it with earth woods of every variety, each carefully catalogued and studied. The implications are fascinating, Lyra explained, showing him the latest results. Each wood species creates unique flavor compounds. The humans have been conducting unofficial molecular gastronomy experiments for centuries without realizing it. A commotion from the ship's new smoking deck interrupted their discussion. The Admiral's scales shifted to alert mode. What now? Minor incident, sir, his aide reported. 2 science officers got into a heated debate about the optimal wood combination for beef ribs. The situation has been resolved, though we may need to requisition more oak. Back on Earth, Rosa was demonstrating the proper technique for preparing a brisket rub. Her alien students watched in fascination as she mixed various spices by hand. But how do you achieve precise measurements without molecular scanners? Asked a puzzled Andromedan. Rosa held up her hands. These are all the measuring tools you need. Barbecue is about feeling, about understanding your meat, your fire, your smoke. It's about love, ventured Nixus, her crystalline form glowing softly. The universal translators had finally been updated to better handle barbecue-related terminology. Exactly, Rosa beamed. Now, watch carefully. The way you apply the rub is just as important as its composition. The international news networks had taken to calling it the Great Galactic Barbecue Revolution. Footage of alien diplomats tending smokers had become a social media sensation. Conspiracy theorists insisted that the extraterrestrials had really come to Earth for the barbecue secrets all along. What nobody had expected was how the shared experience of learning barbecue would break down interspecies barriers. The Andromedans and Centaurians, historically suspicious of each other, found common ground in debates about smoke penetration depth. Cytherian scientists worked alongside human pitmasters, combining ancient wisdom with advanced analysis. "It's remarkable," James Washington commented to Rosa as they watched a Centaurian carefully spritz a brisket. "We've had formal diplomatic relations for years, but it took barbecue to really bring us together." Rosa nodded, adjusting the temperature on a nearby smoker. "Food has always brought people together. Guess that works for aliens too." The aroma of smoking meat drifted up toward the stars, where more ships arrived daily, their crews eager to learn the art of barbecue. Earth had somehow become the galaxy's culinary classroom, and the lesson was simple: good things come to those who wait, tend their fires, and above all, cook with love. A universal language. The first interstellar barbecue championship transformed the Houston Space Center into a smoky paradise. Hundreds of pits and smokers lined the grounds, tended by teams from across the galaxy. The air swirled with a mixture of traditional Earth smoke and exotic alien cooking methods. Admiral Karan, now sporting a Galaxy's Best Grillmaster apron, surveyed the scene from the judges' pavilion. "If someone had told me 6 months ago that I'd be judging a barbecue competition, I would have had them checked for neural parasites." Rosa Martinez, serving as head judge, chuckled. "Sometimes the best diplomacy happens over good food." The competition categories had been expanded to accommodate various alien cooking techniques. Traditional Earth barbecue remained, but new categories included quantum-enhanced smoking and zero-gravity slow cooking. The Andromedans had even introduced a method of smoking meat in controlled plasma fields, though purists argued it violated the low and slow philosophy. "Team Cytheria, you're up," announced James Washington, now sporting the title of Interstellar Barbecue Commissioner. Nixis approached the judges' table, her crystalline form glowing with pride. Her team had spent weeks perfecting a fusion technique that combined traditional Texas post-oak smoking with Cytherian crystal resonance enhancement. The brisket they presented literally glowed with flavor compounds. "The smoke ring has been amplified by harmonic crystal frequencies," she explained, her translator now perfectly calibrated for barbecue terminology. "We found that certain resonances can enhance the meat's ability to absorb smoke particles." The judges' reactions crossed species barriers. Karan's scales shifted to pleasure purple. The Andromedan judges' sensory pods extended fully. The human judges simply closed their eyes in bliss. In the competitors' area, a Centaurian team was demonstrating their chrome-plated smoker to a crowd of admirers. "The reflective surface creates perfect smoke distribution," they explained, while nearby, an Andromedan pitmaster used floating gravity fields to ensure even heat distribution. The competition had become more than a contest, it was a celebration of how different species approached the same fundamental challenge. Earth pitmasters traded tips with alien chefs, each learning from the other's techniques. The result was a new form of cooking that transcended planetary boundaries. "Look at that," Rosa mused, watching a human pitmaster teach a Cytherian team about wood selection while they showed him how to use crystal resonance to test meat tenderness. All these species, all this advanced technology, and in the end, it still comes down to fire, smoke, and patience. The award ceremony that evening was broadcast across Earth and to ships throughout the solar system. Teams from every participating species took home trophies in various categories, but the grand champion title went to a surprising joint entry, a human Andromedan team that had combined traditional oak smoking with precision plasma temperature control. "Barbecue isn't just about the technique," the winners explained to the cameras. "It's about bringing together the best of different worlds." As the celebration continued into the night, Admiral Karan found himself sharing a plate of ribs with Rosa. "You know," he said, his scales showing thoughtful blue patterns, "when we first came to Earth, we thought we were the advanced ones. Turns out, we had a lot to learn about slowing down and appreciating the process." Rosa smiled, handing him another rib. "That's the thing about barbecue, Admiral. It teaches you that some things can't be rushed, that perfection takes time, and that the best results come from sharing knowledge and tradition." The success of the competition led to immediate plans for making it an annual event, rotating between Earth and various alien worlds. Already, there was talk of building a galactic barbecue research center, where species from across the universe could come together to study the art and science of smoking meat. Beyond the stars. 5 years after the first alien encounter with Texas barbecue, the Galactic Culinary Institute stood as a testament to how far things had come. The massive complex, built on the outskirts of Houston, featured smoking pits from every known spacefaring civilization alongside traditional Earth barbecue setups. Rosa Martinez, now serving as the Institute's Grand Master of Smoking Arts, led a tour group through the main hall. Holographic displays showed the evolution of barbecue across the galaxy, from Earth's humble beginnings to the latest innovations in interstellar smoking techniques. "Remember," she told her students, "no matter how advanced our methods become, barbecue will always be about patience, tradition, and bringing people together." Admiral Karan, recently promoted to Galactic Cultural Exchange Director, nodded in agreement. His scales now permanently carried a slight smoky tinge, a badge of honor among Zytherian pitmasters. Who would have thought that humanity's greatest contribution to galactic civilization would be teaching us to slow down and appreciate the process? The Institute had become more than a cooking school. It was a symbol of how food could bridge the gaps between civilizations. In the research wing, scientists from dozens of species studied the chemistry of smoke rings and the physics of heat distribution. The diplomatic wing hosted regular smoke sessions, where representatives from various worlds gathered around smokers to discuss interstellar relations. Ambassador Nixus, her crystalline form now permanently tuned to barbecue wavelengths, had established smoking stations on every Zytherian colony world. "The humans taught us that sometimes the oldest methods are the best," she often said. "Not everything needs quantum enhancement." The impact spread beyond cooking. Alien cultures began adopting the low and slow philosophy in other aspects of life. The Andromedans introduced mandatory smoke breaks in their high-speed manufacturing processes. The Centaurians developed a meditation practice based on tending fires. In the Institute's central courtyard, a monument displayed a simple pit smoker alongside the words, "Good things take time," in every known galactic language. Below it, a plaque told the story of how a simple plate of brisket had changed the course of interstellar relations. "You know what amazes me?" James Washington remarked to Rosa as they watched a group of alien students carefully loading wood into their smokers. "No matter how advanced a civilization becomes, there's something universal about gathering around a fire and sharing food." Rosa smiled, checking the temperature on a nearby smoker with practiced ease. "That's because some truths are constant across the universe. Good barbecue needs patience, attention, and love," finished a chorus of voices in various alien languages, their universal translators no longer struggling with the concept. As the sun set over the Institute, the familiar aroma of smoking meat drifted up toward the stars. On countless worlds across the galaxy, pit masters of every species tended their fires, carrying on a tradition that had started in Texas but now belonged to the universe. The Great Galactic Barbecue Revolution, as historians would call it, proved that sometimes the simplest things could have the most profound impact. In teaching the galaxy about barbecue, humanity had shared something more valuable than advanced technology. They had shared the wisdom of taking time to do things right, the importance of tradition, and the universal truth that the best things in life are worth waiting for.